Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Relax News. We need to talk about what just happened on the court because that game wasn't close at all. From the opening minutes to the final whistle, it felt like a complete domination. One team controlled the tempo, controlled the flow, and dictated everything that happened. And if we're being completely honest, the best player on the floor tonight was Caitlyn Clark. No hesitation, no debate. The moment she stepped on the court, it became her game. Coming into this matchup, I honestly expected something a little different. I figured we'd see Clark into more of a traditional facilitator role, move the ball around, set up teammates, run the offense, and let the veterans handle most of the scoring. And to be fair, she absolutely did that. The passing was there, the court vision was there, and the playmaking was exactly what we've come to expect from her. But what I didn't anticipate was how much she would control the entire rhythm of the game. There's a big difference between simply facilitating and completely dictating the tempo of a basketball game. Tonight, Clark wasn't just setting people up, she was orchestrating everything. Whenever she checked into the game, the pace immediately changed. The tempo picked up, the offense became faster, more aggressive, and much harder to defend. You could literally watch it happen in real time. The message was obvious: push the pace, and the rest of the team responded instantly. You saw players sprinting up the floor in transition the moment the ball changed possession. The wings were filling lanes, the guards were pushing ahead, and everyone understood one thing very clearly. If you run with Caitlin Clark, you're probably going to get a good look at the basket. That's the kind of pressure she creates. There were several possessions where the defense barely had time to set up before the ball was already moving down the floor. And these weren't careless passes either. Clark was delivering perfectly timed passes that hit teammates right in stride, leading to easy buckets. Now, yes, she finished with 3 turnovers, but context matters. One came with about 10 seconds left in the game, and another happened with only 4 seconds remaining. At that point, the result was already decided, so those mistakes didn't affect the outcome at all. One of those turnovers actually came when she attempted a full court pass to Angel Reese that nearly connected. It was a risky play, but it also showed the level of confidence she was playing with. When you look at the numbers, the impact becomes even more obvious. Clark led the team in plus minus, finished second in scoring, and accounted for nearly half of the team's assists. Think about that. In limited minutes, she was responsible for a huge portion of the offense. And that brings up the bigger discussion about pace. Basketball isn't always about playing fast. Sometimes slowing the game down is the right move. Sometimes controlling possessions and managing the clock is smarter. But there are moments when speed completely overwhelms the defense. Tonight was one of those moments. When Clark pushes the tempo, defenders struggle to keep up. Teammates get open looks, transition opportunities appear everywhere, and suddenly, the offense becomes extremely difficult to stop. That's why the game felt so different whenever she was on the floor. She played just 19 minutes and still finished with 17 points and 12 assists. 17 points and 12 assists in under 20 minutes is incredible production. And when you break that down even further, it becomes even more impressive. Several of those assists led directly to 3-point shots. If you calculate the points created from her scoring and passing, Clark was responsible for roughly 33 points in less than 20 minutes. That's elite efficiency. The plus-minus number tells the story even better. She finished the game at plus 35. In just 19 minutes. That kind of impact is hard to ignore. Now, we also saw some strong performances from other players. Ryan Howard had a fantastic game. If someone wanted to argue that she deserved Player of the Game, it wouldn't be a crazy take. She played with aggression, confidence, and was extremely effective offensively. Her scoring kept constant pressure on the opponent throughout the night. But even with Howard playing that well, the overall engine of the team still felt like Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Plum had a solid outing as well. Nothing overly spectacular, but she played her role and contributed when the team needed it. Chelsea Gray, however, seemed to struggle a bit. The rhythm just wasn't quite there, and a few decisions felt slightly off compared to the standard we usually see from her. Kalia Copper had a mixed performance. She attacked the rim aggressively, which is always part of her game, but there were a couple of open layups she normally converts that just didn't fall tonight. We also have to talk about Paige Buchers. It looked like she started the game a little nervous, which is completely understandable. The stage was big, and the moment carried weight. Early on, it felt like she was pressing a little offensively, but even when her shot wasn't falling, she stayed active defensively. She applied pressure full court, challenged ball handlers, and did the small things that help teams win. As the game went on, she started to settle down and look more comfortable. And that's a positive sign because Buckers is easily one of the most talented players on this roster. Sometimes it just takes a little time to find your rhythm. Still, the spotlight tonight belonged to Clark. She played with a calm confidence, almost like she was the player on the floor, not in an arrogant way, but in a controlled, composed way. Angel Reese also had a solid performance. She wasn't asked to carry the scoring load, and that's perfectly fine. Her role is defense, rebounding, and physical presence in the paint, and she delivered in those areas. She grabbed rebounds, protected the rim, and battled inside. In fact, she picked up 4 fouls during the game, which actually shows how active she was around the basket. For what this team needs from her, Reese did her job. There were also a few nice moments from Hami running the floor and finishing easy transition opportunities. But one stretch in particular really stood out, and not in a good way. During the third quarter, there was a veteran-heavy lineup on the floor featuring players like Plum, Gray, Copper, and a few others. And during that stretch, the offense noticeably slowed down. The spacing wasn't as sharp, the energy felt different, and the pace dropped compared to the faster lineups. That contrast made something very clear. This team simply plays faster and more dynamic basketball when Caitlyn Clark is on the floor. Credit should also go to the opposing team for competing hard. A couple of their players really fought and showed strong effort. One power forward, who stands around 6 feet tall, even handled some point guard duties and tried to create mismatches with her size advantage over Clark. But even with those moments, the difference in overall skill level was obvious. There are levels to basketball. Players like Monique Billings and Ray Burrell are solid professionals and absolutely belong at this level. But when you're talking about elite international competition, that between tiers can become noticeable. And tonight, the top tier clearly included players like Caitlyn Clark and Ryan Howard. Looking at the bigger picture, one thing stands out after a performance like this. Caitlyn Clark is going to play a massive role in the future of Team USA. When you start thinking about the 2028 Olympics, it's hard to imagine a scenario where she isn't one of the starting guards. Her pace, playmaking ability, and offensive creativity bring something incredibly valuable to this team. There has been a lot of debate online about guard rotations, point guard roles, and who should control the offense. But performances like this simplify that conversation. When Caitlyn Clark is running the offense, the entire team becomes more dangerous. And tonight was a perfect example of that. A dominant performance, a convincing win, and another reminder that when Clark is given the keys to the offense, she has the ability to completely take over a game. All right, everyone. That's going to wrap up this breakdown. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Caitlyn Clark was clearly the player of the game? Or would you give that honor to Ryan Howard? Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more updates, reactions, and breakdowns.